صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا الشمس كورت وإذا النجوم انكدرت وإذا الجبال سيرت وإذا العشار عطلت وإذا الوحوش هشرت وإذا البحار سجرت وإذا النفوس زوجت وإذا الموءودة سئلت بأي ذنب قتلت وإذا الصحف نشرت وإذا السماء كشطت وإذا الجحيم سعرت وإذا الجنة أزلفت علمت نفس ما أحضرت فلا أقسم بالخنس الجوار الكنس والليل إذا عسعس والصبح إذا تنفس.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters, can I have a salawat please? It's quite unfortunate that I have seen a great change in SABA, especially when and after prayers. A lot of talking, a lot of speaking. You shouldn't be really speaking in between the prayers, but rather doing your nawafil. Because it's not recommended to speak. After Maghrib, there is Isha prayers. In between that period, you should be doing nawafil or tasbih or dua. No chatting, no telephones, no speaking, no asking things. And especially now when the Quran is being recited, it completely goes against the etiquettes of the Quran and the Quran itself, where there's a verse in the Quran that when it is recited, you are supposed to listen. So therefore, it's very important. I didn't want it to stop the brother because stopping the recitation of the Quran itself is bad. Then I felt selfish that when I'm giving a speech, everybody is quiet and then the Quran is recited, no one is quiet, that's a shame. So please, do not let your rewards that you accumulate by being here, just by being here we accumulate rewards. So just do not let these rewards that we accumulate just go to waste. So please, when the Quran is recited and also when the prayers, in between the prayers, there was this ayah, Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu recited. I just heard like 2-3 people giving salawat. The whole roof should blow up with salawat when you guys recite here. This is SABA we are talking about, right? SABA is one of the best centers that I have ever heard in United States, right? So inshallah, let's restart the recitation of the Quran with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا الشمس كورت وإذا النجوم انكدرت وإذا الجبال سيرت وإذا العشار عطلت وإذا الوحوش هشرت وإذا البحار سجرت وإذا النفوس زوجت وإذا الموءودة سئلت بأي ذنب قتلت وإذا الصحف نشرت وإذا السماء كشطت وإذا الجحيم سعرت وإذا الجنة أزلفت علمت نفس ما أحضرت فلا أقسم بالخنس الجوار الكنس والليل إذا عسعس والصبح إذا تنفس إنه لقول رسول كريم ذي قوة عند ذي العرش مكين مطاع ثم أمين وما صاحبكم بمجنون صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Quick announcement regarding our Arba'in programs. Inshallah, starting Monday, we will have Urdu and English from Monday onwards, and our Farsi and Arabic programs are starting from Wednesday. Programs for Arba'in, inshallah, from Monday for Urdu and English, and Farsi and Arabic from Wednesday. Another quick request from the SABA management. Brothers and sisters, we are experiencing an ongoing issue with ants, rats and roaches in the SABA building, and this is primarily due to the leftover food being left behind. So please, we request you all, in order to maintain clean and healthy environment, please take only the amount of food you can finish and avoid leaving unfinished plates in corners or under chairs. Inshallah, your cooperation in this regard will help us preventing further infestations. Thank you. Jazakumullah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Thank you, Brother Ali Haider, and thank you, Brother Ali Hassan, for the beautiful recitation. Before we get started, I wanted to mention that we do have some poems to be recited by some of the youth in our community. So with that, I'd like to welcome Sister Zahra Fatima Khan to the curtain of the ladies' side. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Bismillah. The title is I Will Remember You Forever, Hazrat Abbas. Abbas is the light. He shines so bright. I will always be on your side. He was Imam Hussein's brother. al-Banin was his mother. He was like no other. His father was Imam Ali. Loving them is the key to our destiny. He was proud to hold Imam Hussein's flag and glad to carry the water bag. Hazrat Abbas went to get water for Imam Hussein's daughter. The Yazid's army wanted him for slaughter. The enemy wanted to cause him harm. They cut off both his arms, but he remained calm. He shot an arrow in his eye, and he cried, "My Imam, I'm about to die." Every Muharram I remember you. I loved your story since I was 2, and I knew you stood up for what was true.
Another loud salawat for her. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We also have another poem from Brother Sayyid Muhammad Zaki Zaidi. If he is here, he is here. Or please recite a loud salawat for Brother Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The title of my poem is In Imam Hussein's Remembrance. On Karbala's dusty land, plants have been withered away by heat. But one strong and shining tree stands, one with a message that can't be beat. One who has made a righteous decision, one who is a stronghold of religion, one who was remembered across the galaxy, one whose story was a tragic calamity. Done by people of worldly spite, done by those who denied the light, attacked the following of Allah's way, and discredited the all-real judgment day. A holy man, Hussein alayhi salam was he. He believed justice was key. The right belief will set you free, and his faith will stand for eternity. Sorrowfully, though, he was a martyr, but it woke up the planet. His tale was a major starter to have a belief and stand by it. So the word.
Ahsan. Another loud salawat for Brother Muhammad Zaki. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, before we start the lecture, I want to call up Sister Zahra to announce the winners of the art competition that we held today. So please welcome her with a loud salawat.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you to all our participants, both our poets and artists who took part in our competition this year. And in regards to tonight's winners for the art component, please collect your masterpieces after the announcements of the winners have been made, and the winners can actually collect their prizes, which are $50 gift cards to Crescent Moon at the back where the tables are. Again, thank you to everyone who participated and voted, and inshallah, with the success of this year, we can continue this again next year. So as you heard earlier, Sister Zahra Fatima was the winner of our poetry competition in the 5 to 8 category. And Brother Sayyid Muhammad was our winner in the age 9 to 12 poetry category. Not here today, Sister Zoya Jaffrey won in our age 13 to 17 category for poetry. Brother Mirza was our winner in our 18 and above poetry category. Now for our artists who turned in submissions tonight where everyone voted for. Sister Noor Zahra in ages 5 to 8 is the winner for that category. In the age 9 to 12 art category, Sister Zainab Akbarpour is our winner. In the age 13 to 17 category, Sirsania Babul is our winner. And last but not least, in our age 18 and above, Iman Ali is our winner this evening. Can I get a loud salawat for all of our winners tonight and participants? Allah.
Thank you, sister. Just one final reminder before we start the lecture. Brothers, if we can come in front of the chairs here and come as close to the member as possible, just so we can create that environment and that spiritual environment for everyone. And for the brothers sitting on the chairs, if you can come to the chairs here in the front, again, just to create that atmosphere, that would be great. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And with that, I'd like to welcome Moulana Abbas Mirza. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة بسم الله الحمد لله رب أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله أوله بلا أول كان قبله وآخره بلا آخر يكون بعده الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وأجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الدائم على أعدائهم وغاصبي حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ومناقبهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. The recitation of the Quran, which the brother just recited, and I kind of speak a little bit in between, for which I disturb the recitation. May Allah forgive me for that. Especially the surah that the brother was reciting was a very important surah, which talks about what will happen on the Day of Judgment. As we all know that when Quran was recited by the Prophet, or when Quran was recited by others and the Masumeen or the Prophet is passing by or would listen, would stop. And the face color of the Prophet will change if he's reciting or even if he's hearing some of those verses which are related to the hereafter. Because the phenomena or the reality of the hereafter is quite heavy. For instance, as we recite in this surah, إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ, when the sun is put out. It's a huge, enormous, gigantic reality unfolding when the sun will be put off. And this is the Quran, and Allah is saying that. And if we are not paying heed, and if you're not paying attention to it, where we find that the Masumeen, they will shake when these type of verses are recited. So it just doesn't befit in terms of us being a Muslim and our Imams and our Masumeen behaving in that fashion, not just behaving naturally, that happens to them, right? They say that when the hour of prayers would arrive, the fourth Imam would start to tremble. His face color will change because he knows that he is going to meet Allah and he has the ma'rifat and understanding who he is meeting. Same as the Quran as well. وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ انْكَدَرَتْ, and when the stars fall down, and when the mountains are blown away, وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ سُيِّرَتْ. I mean, these verses are quite heavy. And it's describing how the day of judgment will unfold. And there isn't any text, any scripture, any divine text that provides, that depicts the minor and minute details that will unfold in Qiyamah other than the Quran. This is the beauty of Rasulullah, who was capable enough to download that reality from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of the future, because the heart of Rasul had that capability and capacity to get the Quran. That's why the Quran clearly says that if the Quran was supposed to be revealed on the mountain will be turned into dust. It was the heart of the Prophet which had that power, which had that capacity to have the nuzul of the Quran. And as a matter of fact, I always kind of give references to books as well when we speak. There's an article by William Chittick in the Islamic Spirituality on eschatology. The book you can find online as well. There's a PDF there. However, there's an Islamic Spirituality. The introduction, or it's edited by Sayyid Hussain Nasr, a great scholar once again. And William Chittick is the one who translated Saif Sajjadiya, and there are many other books which I recommend the youth to go through his books. He talks about this ayahs and these verses while bringing in references from different scholars and the interpretation of that, right? And then I'm not going to get into, because that's not our topic, in discussion of Qiyamah and what it is. And however, the Quran talks about the Qiyamah in quite detail compared to other Abrahamic texts as well. The Bible talks about hereafter as in hell and heaven, for example. The good people go to heaven and the bad people go to hell. And the fire of hell, that's it. But the hour by hour or minute by minute, how the Qiyamah will unfold, إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ انْكَدَرَتْ, all of that is quite minute, specific details what will happen on the Qiyamah. And then these verses especially, points out to that reality when it was revealed that the Prophet is speaking to the Arabs of the Jahiliyyah of that time. He's saying, this is what will happen, this is what will happen, this is what will happen, right? And then it says, بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. For example, it goes that, and when the seas are set on fire, وَإِذَا الْبِهَارُ سُجِّرَتْ, right? And when the souls and their bodies are paired once more. And وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ, and when baby girls buried alive are asked. بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. This is Prophet addressing that's what the Quran is. Prophet is addressing the people who is he meeting, for example. That's why you find a lot of stories of Bani Israel, because they were Jews at that time, would come to the Prophet, or Prophet will speak to them, and they will speak about what's in your book. Go compare, go take a look. This is what mentioned about Musa, this is what I mentioned about Yusuf, this is what mentioned about the Bani Israel prophets. Because they would deny the Prophet, and Prophet would try to guide them, would teach them, and that's why you have a lot of discussions or stories of Bani Israel, and that talks about Musa alayhi salam a lot in the Quran. Anyways, so this is what I just wanted to point out to, that is that the Arabs of the Jahil is a Meccan verse. As you know, there are Meccan verses, there are Medinan verses when Prophet was in Mecca. Most of the verses of Mecca are related to the Qiyamah, related to the hereafter, because the Islamic State hasn't formed yet to talk about the Islamic laws. Because when Prophet went to Medina, that's the time talking about zakat, talking about homes, talking about art of war or inheritance, rights and so on and so forth. That's in Medinan verses usually. But the Meccan verses, it's all about Tawheed and Qiyamah. It talks about oneness of God because they were polytheists at that time, and also kind of waking them up in regards to what will happen in the Qiyamah. So it's usually the Meccan verses tend to be Tawheed and also Qiyamah. Now here is what it says, that for what crime they were put to death, which is very similar to the scenario that we are having and that we are facing today. That the young children are just being malnutrition, hunger, no food. Basically, of what crime they were put to death. They will be asked. And we have to answer. And how we have fulfilled our responsibility towards that. What have we done for this? Are we really doing something? The means that are provided to us, are we fully utilizing those means? For example, you would find our ulama or scholars have mentioned that, there are certain du'as in Saif Sajjadiyah to be recited. Dua number 7, dua number 14. Why are they saying to recite this dua? Reflecting on this dua, what are the deeper meanings of this dua? And to understand the deeper meaning of the zulm that is taking place and the oppression that is taking place. To have that ma'rifat is very important. So, بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. So, these were the verses which were being recited by our brother here. May Allah bless him. And then we are somewhere else, involved with our daily routine discussion or whatever that may be. If the brothers and sisters want to speak, discuss, they are more than welcome. MashaAllah, SABA has a huge, premise. They can go in some other place and do that. So inshallah, I hope that I myself and many of us don't really engage in any form of conversation when the Quran is being recited, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Please recite under Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In the continuation of our discussion in regards to tears, as we've been speaking about, and this will be perhaps the concluding discussion of ours for the past 2 nights. The first 2 nights we reflected tears particularly to Hazrat Ruqayya, which is known by many of brothers from India and Pakistan as Sakina, which was actually the title of the daughters of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, particularly in regards to Hazrat Ruqayya being the youngest one. Perhaps Imam Hussain would have addressed her in that fashion. There's a whole historical discussion in regards to who was there, Sukaina or Sakina or Ruqayya, that the history deals with, and how these were the daughters of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. However, we also find that they were also named as Fatima Kubra, Fatima Sughra. In the similar fashion, they say Imam Hussain have named his daughters all as Fatima and his sons all as Ali. Ali Akbar, Ali Awsat, Ali Asghar. That's how he named his children. Now, tonight's discussion is about tears, because I just wanted to conclude this discussion to know the value and the importance of shedding tears, of buka, of crying, how important it is in our tradition. And mind you, in all traditions, in all religious traditions, that we find that tears are of great value. It is not just an expression, emotional or sentimental expression of a person, but rather it is revered, but rather it is highly respected. in all of the religious traditions that we find, whether that be Far Eastern traditions or whether that be, Abrahamic traditions such as Judaism or Christianity, or even among the indigenous people, that we find that tears, buka, crying play a very important role. And if we look at the existential reality of crying, and that's what the philosophers does, try to understand what everything is in terms of his mahiyya, in terms of his quiddity, in terms of his wujud, in terms of his existence. Because every existence have two reality to it. One reality is his wujud, in terms of the existence. The other reality is the mahiyat, which is known as the quiddity, the outward form. We are all, sort of insan, in terms of our wujud, for example, right? But there's a mahiyat to it, although, this example may not exactly fit. A philosopher will definitely be critical of what I'm giving you an example. But in terms of, we have our own outward form and inward form. I'm insan, you are insan, everybody is insan. But the outward mahiyat of me, the outward form of me is different to yours. There's a sort of so every existence have this two reality to it. One is that wujud, that existence, and one is that outward reality form that it has. So when we look at buka, when we look at crying, for example, if you look at it, this usually happens. It's a very special phenomena, crying, because it contains within it manifestation of the kamal, of the perfection of the aql, and also the beauty of the heart. When a person cries, there is an element of intellect involved, aql involved, and there's element of the heart involved too. There's emotionality and the heart as well. These are two realities. That's why the Quran also and the Hadith also kind of points out to the qalb and aql. That's a very subtle, important discussion in philosophy and the Mutun Islami, in the Islamic texts, Hadith and Quran and all that. There's a very important discussion about aql and qalb. There's a difference in that. And ruh and nafs and soul, these are fascinating and very powerful phenomena that the Quran and Hadith and our ulama have pointed out, commented on these discussion. Just briefly, in order to understand what I'm talking about, tears, how it is related to the qalb and aql, because aql is the intellectual capacity, rationality of an insan, that it tends to calculate. And Allah have given this aql to all of mankind. It's considered as hujjat, it's considered as a proof. But what we find, something which is beyond aql, is the reality of the qalb, is the heart. That's why the Quran talks about on the day of judgment as qalb salim, not aql salim. In the hereafter, the value is of the qalb salim, a heart which is tranquil, a heart which is salim, which is pure, which is free from any errors and faults as such. It doesn't talk about aql salim. And aql is of a material, now I'm getting into too much into philosophy, but aql is of a material which one can understand angelic like angels. Because angels are the most rational, most, without any error and mistake. That's why when angels saw Adam, as the Quran says, that you are creating somebody who's gonna, create bloodshed because of the, what they have seen, calculated, and what they have seen as in Adam in him in terms of the calculations of the body structure, the form, so on and so forth. Right. However, there was the element which perhaps of the heart there. And Allah says that, you don't know what I know, of this, Adam. So angels are pure beings, and perhaps we could relate that to our intellectual or aql, right? Mind you, our aql also prone of making errors, but these errors is not of the aql as such, it's because of the miscalculations of ours. In terms of the pure intellect, we'll never make an error because it's an hujjat. Because Allah says that, the seventh Imam says that Allah have placed two hujjat. One hujjat is in us and one hujjat is outside. Hujjat means proof. In order for knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, going towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hujjat in us, the proof that Allah have proved of His existence in us is our aql. And the hujjat that is outside is Rasul. And if the prophets were not sent in a place, hypothetically speaking, for example, in some place in the world, but as Allah has given the aql, Allah have the right to question this person, why haven't you come to me? Or why you have created fasad or corruption in whatever community or tribe you were. Because Allah have given that person aql. And this aql guides insan not to deviate, not to do zulm. That's why naturally a child, if he sees somebody misbehaving, shouting, hurting someone, without naturally from his aql, from his inside, says this is wrong, this is not right. Because this person has not gone to a university to learn something, it naturally comes, right? So, one hujjat is inside, one hujjat is outside, that's Rasul, and that's why many a times when our aql tends to miscalculate, then this is compared with the hujjat that is outside. The hujjat that is outside, the Quran and Masumin are saying something, and those who have reached to a level of understanding what the Quran and Hadith is saying something, like for example Maraje. The Maraje are capable of explaining, interpreting in the right way, with the right methodology, which is provided by the Quran and by the Ahl Bayt in regards to deen. And now my aql says, well, this doesn't make sense. But the marja is saying something else. Well, my aql is limited. Is influenced by many factors. However, you have a religious scholar who is a mushtahid, a marja, his calculation is based upon a methodology, is based upon the Quran, teachings of the Quran, is based upon the riwayat and hadith, and at the same time, alhamdulillah, we are the people of the aql, is based upon the aql as well, because there are four hujjat when it comes to fiqh. Qawl masum, ayah of the Quran, hadith, aql and consensus of the ulama. These are the four principles. Because of these four principles, a mushtahid, a marja gives a fatwa. Either there is an ayah of the Quran, or there is a hadith, or there is a consensus of the ulama. The maraja in the past, they have come up and decided that this is what it's supposed to be. And that consensus is very important and cannot be rejected depending on what type of consensus it is, because the possibility of a hadith exists in the past, and today that hadith have not reached us because of maybe the books have been burned, maybe the books have, and maybe we have lost that hadith. And in that time, 200 years ago or so, there were ulama. They decided that this should be the fatwa or this should be the answer. Why they have decided that? Maybe they had a hadith which we don't have, and there is ijma of that. So we cannot really break that ijma as such. And the fourth thing is aql. Our aql says something, and that aql basically becomes a yardstick, or becomes a way of deterring and determining whether this is right, halal or not. These are the four things. Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Obviously, there's a discussion in here as well, which we don't want to get into. Now, this aql is the hujjat and the aql outside, and I am capable of an error in terms of my calculation, so therefore there is hujjat outside through which I rectify myself. However, as we said that the aql is of the material, angelic material, will have that capability and capacity in a rational way to discern, right and wrong, and point out to what is right as it is of the angelic material. They say that, for example, if Jibreel is the aql of Rasul. Because when we look at the Quran, it's the most rational book ever that one can imagine. So if Jibreel is the aql of Rasul, then what was it that Jibreel says that if I go any further, I will burn my wings? What traveled on that night? Asra bi abdihi layl min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa and wa kana qaba qawsayn aw adna, right? That is the qalb Rasul that traveled. It is the heart of Rasul that reaches to that Sidratul Muntaha, to that highest level of qurb. That's why the journey to Allah, peculiarly and particularly in the discipline of mysticism, Irfan, is the journey of the heart. It's the heart that goes there, that sees, that meets. You know, these mukashafat, these unveiling of the reality and truth takes place upon the heart of a person. So, tears is actually a combination of both. That our aql calculates the greatness of Allah as we have eyes. There are 4 types, and I'm going to skip a lot of things. There are 4 types of tears mentioned in the Quran. One of them, they talk about the tears of khawfullah, of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the ayah clearly says that when we show them our ayat, when we show them our signs, as when they see our signs, mukashafa, seeing. Now this seeing, as we said, it is heart. You know, seeing always deals with the heart. A person sees with the heart. A person calculates with the aql. That's why they say there's a difference between a philosopher and an arif. An arif, a mystic, is a person who sees and comes to the goal or to the purpose, to the reality. But a philosopher uses a stick, is blind, he calculates, and then comes to that reality. Gradually and gradually. But an arif is with the heart. It sees that reality. That's why we find, Ma ra'aytu shay'an, Amirul Mu'minin says, that I haven't seen a thing. Qablahu Allah. Before that thing I saw Allah. Ba'dahu Allah. After that thing I saw Allah. Ma'ahu Allah. And with that thing I saw Allah. Ma ra'aytu, seeing. Not that I have the aliman or knowledge. It's not with knowledge. It's by seeing. Aynama tuwallu fasamma wajhullah. Wherever you turn, there's a face of Allah. Do I worship Allah that I don't see? They ask the Amirul Mu'minin, right? That do you see Allah that you are worshiping? He said, do you think I worship Allah that I don't see? Not with this eye, but the eye of the heart. Seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the levels of Tawheed, which we spoke about yesterday a bit, pertains with the seeing with the heart. Right? So here, the ayah of the Quran says that Allah will show them the signs to them. And the awliya Allah, they have the capability and capacity to see these signs. And as soon as they see this, they fall in the sajda. And they cry in the khashyatullah. Out of awe and fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they shed tears. So what have brought these tears? The ma'rifat of Allah. That's why when we recite dua, naturally, like I said, there's so much, there's a miracle, there's magic in the du'as and ayahs of the Quran that naturally when we are reciting, just our heart melts and we cry. Joshan and Kabir are just names of Allah. There's nothing but names. He's this, he's that, he's that. There's no point of tears coming in the eyes. But when we recite Joshan and Kabir, naturally we start to cry. it just happens. And that's what, seeing Allah with the heart means. Coming close to Allah, seeing Allah requires sincerity and purity. And it's not necessarily that a person should know certain terminologies and falsafa and philosophy and irfan and nazari and theoretical irfan, this and that and the other. No. If one wants to come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, requires that pure heart. The cleansing of the heart and the purity of the heart and the sincerity, if that's there, the person will reach. Right? The person will go. That's why Amirul Mu'mineen in Munajat-e-Shabaniya says that, Ilahi, O Allah, I don't have the power, la hawlun, right? La hawlun, vis-a-vis sins, dhamb. O Allah, I don't have power in front of sins. I cannot control myself. Illa ay khastani, except that you awaken your muhabbat in my heart. If the love heart, once again, aqli, from an intellectual point of view, from falsafa, I may be the best philosopher and I can prove the existence of God, that Allah is present everywhere and His wujud and what type of wujud He is, wajibul wujud, mumkinul wujud, whatever, philosophically I can 2 + 2 4, like that, I can prove the existence of God. But when it comes to sin, I may not control myself because my heart have not reached to that level of my aql. When heart reaches to that level, it goes beyond that. It's like most of the time this example is given, that if there's a dead body and I'm the doctor as a physician and I know that the dead body will not do anything, but still if somebody asks me to stay all night with the dead body, I am upset. The 680 is closed. Yeah. And there's a ghost of the Niles, road Niles, they say, the white witch. I don't know, or not. Now I have to go back to Pleasanton. I have to drive by myself. I'm not going to take 580. I'm not going to take the Niles. Because the heart is, from the aqli point of view, will say, Baba, no, it's not possible at all. But the heart is still not accepting that. So the question is of the heart. So when seeing Allah, that sincerity, that love and emotionality, muhabbat, have to do with the heart. That's why muhabbat, they say love is blind, right? Because muhabbat, they say, is blind. Even no matter what, for example, from an intellectual point of view, is not possible. They say Majnun was a person who was, not rich person at all. Layla was somebody who was a princess. But the love happened. It was not possible at all for Majnun to reach that. But how much he showed his love. He still loved. He became fana and fani and annihilated in the love, which is symbolic. Right? It's not possible, but still the heart is there. And as the heart is prepared and ready, regardless of the intellectual capacity that the person may have, Allah will open the truths to this heart. And this person is capable enough and will be able to contain the beauty of Allah. Right? So that sincerity, that khulus, and Karbala is full of this. Hur was not an intellectual person, was not a mushtahid, like how Imam Hussain writes letter to Habib, faqih. Habib, Imam Hussain refers to him as faqih. Hur was not. I mentioned this earlier, but I will repeat the story for our youngsters. Hazrat Hur, Sayyid Mohsin Hakim, a great marja of all Shias. He visits the shrine of Hazrat Hur. May Allah give all of us tawfiq to visit the shrine, inshallah, especially in Arba'in, inshallah. So he visits him with all the entourage, with all his students, group of students going visiting the shrine of Hazrat Hur. And he says to Hur, Oh Hur, I'm better than you. Because I'm Sayyid. You're not Sayyid. I'm Sayyid. Number one. Number two, I am Mujtahid. I am knowledgeable. Obviously, Hur was not Faqih or Mujtahid. Hussein Hakim is knowledgeable, is Marja. Plus, I have so much following. Look. But oh Hur, what you have, I don't have. The guarantee of hereafter. You have that. मैंने भी माफ किया, मेरे खुदा ने भी माफ किया. Oh Hur, what you have, I don't have. That handkerchief of Fatimatul Zahra, salamullah, which was given by Hussein, by my Jad Hussein. Even the king of kings of that time wanted to take the handkerchief off. Fresh blood came out of it. Because Nadir Shah, they say that he wants to take the handkerchief when they were repairing the haram. They say when they took the handkerchief, the whole grave filled with blood of Hur. That's why I come here as a slave of you, Hur. Right? That is to do with the heart. Hur had that heart. That's why he joined Imam Hussein. The journey of Hussein is journey of love. It needs that heart. That's why this is known as the walk of love. From Najaf to Karbala. This walk of love. It's majnoon. This is junoon. John says, Ana majnoonul Hussein. You know, he tears his shirt. They say, have you gone crazy, oh John? He says, yes, Ana majnoonul Hussein. That's Hussein. And that's what it is needed. To reach Allah, that junoon is needed. That muhabbat is needed. That's why Amirul Mu'mineen in Munajat Shabaniya is saying that, oh Allah, awaken my muhabbat in my heart of yours, then I will be able to fight the sins. Then I will not commit sins. You know, it's the heart. Now, tears, as these tears of fear, as we said, is the of khawf of Allah. Khawf means the awe. So you have, in these tears, you have the element of ma'rifat of Allah. That knowledge is there at the same time. But we are showing our ayat to these individuals. And when we show them these ayat, they fall in sajda, number one. And they are in buka. They are crying. Their eyes are filled with tears. Which itself is an indication of a reward for them to go on a higher level. Because they did not have that capability and possibility to comprehend what they are seeing and what they are witnessing, because of which they are falling in sajda. That's the highest level of ubudiyat and servitude manifested is the form of sajda. As they say that the closest point of an abd meeting the ma'bud is sajda. That's why Hazrat Nuh used to do a lot of sajdas. It's recommended to do a lot of sajdas. Sayyidus Sajideen, for example, right, is the sajda. So when a person sees that reality, then naturally it falls in sajda. And naturally it does buka, it cries. And as we said last night, that crying is a sign of the beginning of mercy. Because right after crying, the mercy of Allah descends. Right after this crying, the mercy comes and takes this awliya to a higher level. And then they see again, and then they go higher again, and then they see again. That's why we cry for Hussein every year. And our eyes doesn't go dry crying for Hussein. And the more we cry, the closer we come to him. And the closer we come to him. And when we reach Karbala, we see him there, opening his arms, welcoming us. This is Hussein. And no wonder, crying is related, this act, this great act, this valuable act of buka and crying is related with Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He wants to bring that heart, purify that heart with these tears, with these buka, with this crying.
Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali.
And then we have another riwayat, I'm just mentioning this in the margin, that is one day in Furugh Shahadat, and the riwayat has been quoted in Kamil Ziyarat, which is one of the texts, important texts, which is related to Imam Hussein's position, maqam, in which it points out to that Imam Rasulullah was in the house of Bibi, in the house of the daughter. And then he all of a sudden falls in sajda. And that is the reality. When something higher is seen, like I said, naturally a person goes in sajda. Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdi. And that is the highest level of connection and closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. And then she asked why. Then Rasulullah said that Allah showed me. Allah was here. No, I saw. Once again, these are all symbolized and symbolically riwayat, not in the physical sense of the eye, right? As it says that on Thursday night, the sixth Imam asked his companion to do ziyarat of Imam Hussain. They said, no, Imam Hussain, ziyarat is far. How can you not? You can do it from outside, go under the sky, say salam, especially on a Thursday night. And then he says that Allah does the ziyarat of Hussain on every Thursday night. Kamil Ziyarat, once again the reference. Allah comes from the arsh, from the throne, in order to the ziyarat of Hussain. And all of the Anbiya and Awliya and Malaika, they come for ziyarat of Hussain on every Thursday night. This is very symbolic. When Allah comes means that His special mercies descend. It's not physical. So here Rasulullah says that I saw Allah in the best form that I can ever see. And for that I went in sajda, and Allah informed me and showed me the maqam of Hussain. That's why on the 27th night, which is Mab'as, Imam Hussain was in Masjidun Nabawi. And he sees Rasulullah in the dream, and Rasulullah says, oh Hussain, look at this maqam. This is yours. But this goes through Karbala. 27th of Rajab this, 28th of Rajab, Safar Imam Hussain. Right? So this is seeing of the heart. When they see, they fall in sajda, which is out of awe and fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's one type of crying that's been mentioned. And it naturally happens to us, when we are reciting du'as, when we are reciting these great verses which talks about the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma inni as'aluka, bi jabarutika allati wasi'at kulla shay. All of the du'a kumail, the beginnings of the du'as and of du'a kumail tend to have that element of the greatness of Allah. Brings that awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brings that haiba, that's, sort of jalal of Allah. And jalal of Allah, is invoked at a time where there is a greater need to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why in this month of Safar, which is considered to be a month of Nahas, it has a negative omen to the month of Safar. That's why when you look at the du'as of Safar, it's a Jalali dua. Ya Shadeed al-Quwa, Ya Shadeed al-Mihal, Ya Azizo, Ya Azizo, Ya Aziz. ظلت بعظمتك جميع خلقك فاكفني شر خلقك يا محسن يا مجمل يا منعم يا مبذل يا لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. This is zikr of Yunusiyah. This zikr is called zikr Yunusi. It's a very heavy zikr. It's a Jalali zikr. And it's not given in the beginning in terms of spiritual wayfaring. In the beginning they will go, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, go recite 1,000 times for 40 days. This La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin is a zikr Yunusi. In the methodology of Allama Tabatabai, Sayyid Qazi Tabatabai, Haddad, this zikr is not just given to anybody. I remember, because we tend to, read this zikr, that zikr, and we think that we can practice it. No. It comes with proper methodology, and there is a reason when, how much. I went to my teacher, I said, I'm doing this zikr, la ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu zalim 1,000 times. And I'm going to be doing for 40 days. After doing few weeks, I told him that. He says, stop it, don't do it. Because the heart does not have that capability and capacity to really continue that. It could be that you may see something that you don't have the capability to understand. And a person may become completely put off. Right? So, the zikr jalali, jalal of Allah, azamatika allati wasi'at kulla shay. So, this is the beginning of the dua that you will find. The dua Joshan Saghir is more jalali than Joshan Kabir even. That's why it's been recited at a time where there's calamities. There are certain du'as in Saif Sajjadiyah to be recited at the time of calamities and bala. In the times of calamities and bala, the Ism Jalal of Allah is needed and required rather than the Jamal of Allah. The Zikr Jamaliye is different, the Zikr Jalaliye is different, right? So, Shadidul Quwa, Ya Shadidul Mihal. When are we reciting? Why this dua is not in Shaban or Rajab, for example? In Shaban you recite Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Wasma dua idha da'utuk, wasma nida idha nadaytuk. Faqat harabtu alayk wa waqaftu bayna yadayk. Oh Allah, you listen to me. There's no Jalal name here. It's just very quickly you say, oh Allah, listen to me. And I'm calling you and I'm doing najwa with you. I come running to you, right? There's nothing like Jalali, like Dua Kumail or other. Which month? Month of Shaban. Because it's a month of Rahmah, month of mercy. But month of Safar, Ya Shadidul Quwa, Ya Shadidul Mihal, Ya Azizu, Ya Azizu, Ya Dhallat Bi'adamatika Jami'a. Faghfinisha. So, these are all the Jalali aspect. So, when the awliya, they see that Jalal of Allah, they go in sajda. Sometimes they don't have the capacity to see. They go unconscious, like Musa. Musa said, I want to see you, Allah. Then Allah said, okay, look at the tur. And he started tajalliyat, theophanies on this mountain. And Musa was looking, all of a sudden, the ayah of the Quran goes, Musa goes unconscious. And those scholars of Bani Israel who wanted to see Allah as well, they were scholars, they were not normal people. Scholars means they had that strength and capacity, but they died. Because they couldn't see Allah. They saw that Jalal. And Musa went unconscious. Right? So, they go in sajda out of awe and fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they cry. So when we are crying, it has that element of ma'rifat of Allah. And at the same time, as we say, it has the element of the heart. So it has the aql and the heart, which kind of takes us towards this journey of buka. Then you have the tears of muhabbat, out of love, out of shauq. And this is quite common in all traditions as well. I'm not really getting into Zen Buddhism and Taoism, which talks about tears, and Hinduism. It's amazing. In Judaism, for example, when it talks about tears and the beauty of tears, because we don't have time, it's tears of love, out of muhabbat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the eyes cry. And this is seen in, when we meet our mother or father or somebody, naturally we cry. Why are you crying? Are you in pain? No. Out of happiness, out of joy, out of love I am crying. So the same way when a person's heart yearns for the beloved, in the love of the beloved, which is Allah, out of ishq, the eyes starts to flow, shed tears, out of joy and out of love. Which the Quran also and the Hadith also talks about these tears of love. Very briefly, then you have Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Just to give a Quranic reference, yuhibbunahum wa yuhibbunahu. They love Allah and Allah loves them. And وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. And these are those people, those amanu, iman. Now once again, iman is relation of the heart. Iman have to do with the heart. Perhaps Islam have to do with the aql. Because there's a difference between a Muslim and a mu'min. With Islam, yes, with aql and logic, prove it. I accept, is Islam. But when it comes to Iman, that has to be do with the heart. Abu Basir comes to sixth Imam. You know that story, for our youngsters. And there are other people who are saying, oh Imam Sadiq, you do the Qiyam, you do revolt, we'll support you, and we have so much army, so on and so forth. To the sixth Imam, they were saying at the time of Abbasi and the Umayyads, when the Abbasi came to power. So Imam Sadiq says, wait. And Abu Basir comes, and there's tanur, there's an oven where they are cooked bread, right? And it's heated, fully hot. And Abu Basir comes, and Abu Basir and these commanders were there as well. And Imam Sadiq says to Abu Basir, jump in the oven. He just jumps. And these guys were like, oh my God, now he's busted now, he's gone completely, right? But after the conversation, Imam says, Abu Basir, come out. He comes out. They were shocked. Then Imam says, who are the companions and supporters that you're talking about like him? He said, none. Why? Because that has to do with the Iman. That's Iman of Abu Basir. Right? So Iman have to do this. So this ayah also says, Ashaddu hubban lillah. These are the people, or these are the individuals, who have that, walladina amanu. Those who believe have that Iman, ashaddu, shadid, in the hub of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Hussein, if we are killed 70 times, Imam Hussein, what Imam Hussein is saying? Go back. On the eve of Ashura, everybody is there, right? Leave. Go back. Go. You have come here, you have supported me, and I will guarantee you paradise. I will guarantee you shafaat of Rasulullah. You have done your share, you have done your due. Now you can go back. They are after my blood, and I have lifted the bayah and allegiance. I will not question. You can leave. How they replied? Oh Hussein, we'll never leave you. Even if we are slain and killed 70 times, our bodies are burnt, and the ashes of our bodies is spread all over the world, and Allah brings us back to this life, still we'll die for you for 70 times. This is muhabbat. Ashaddu hubban lillah. This is a shadid muhabbat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of the waliullah here. Because they have that ma'rifat. So that love is needed. And what will happen when this love comes? Tears come to our eyes. And what is after this tears? Increase of darajah. More is granted. A person will come closer to Allah. That's why, crying is one of the greatest ibadat, considered as one of the ibadat. That when a person cries, according to narrations that we have, is as an ibadat. Because that brings us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the third type of crying, there are many stories of the Quran which you could relate to. Yaqub, Yusuf, love, and how the father cried for Yusuf, for example. That's the story of love. There is this ayah which is there is this type of crying which is the crying of firaq, of separation. When an abd, like for example, there is munajate, tawwabin, munajate, arifin, the 15 munajat that we have, munajate shakin of the fourth Imam. In this munajat, Imam is talking about the how far I am from you, the distance between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This brings about the tears in the eyes of a person, that I'm so far from you. And naturally as well, in the dunyavi sense, when a loved one is far away, that brings tears. Right? And these are the very tears itself which becomes that bridge to bring that person back, or for this person to go back. These are the tears which will allow them to be connected and meet again. This firaq, this sort of separation, is bringing tears. So in the same fashion, when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have those tears. And many a times when we are crying, in the sentences of the du'as are these specific words. Oh Allah, I cry you because of the firaqik in Dua Kumail. we have this sentence, Amirul Mu'mineen mentioning. Amirul Mu'mineen who is at the level, Ma ra'aytu shay'an qablahu Allah ma'ahu Allah ba'dahu Allah, right? I see Allah. To that level he is, but still he is saying that, I cry, not that you have put me in hellfire. That's not the reason I'm crying. But I am crying because I am far away from you. Because hell is far from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the reality of hell and heaven. Heaven means you're closer to Allah. Reward means that you're closer to Allah. Sawab means that you're closer to Allah. Azab and different forms of azab, they are all being far away from. Right? So Allah, my disappointment or the reason I'm upset or sad is not that I am in the hellfire. But rather, how can I bear the firaq, the separation from you? So that brings that tears. Those tears are there. Once again, the result of these tears as this closeness will come about. Finally, the fourth one, and then it will end inshallah. However, there are many other ways of approaching this very topic. These are the tears of shuhud, experiencing divine presence of Allah. Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As it says that the Rasulullah have said in the dua, my Allah grant me the delight of gazing upon your face, looking at the face. When a person sees Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, witnesses and have that shuhud, that will bring about. Or in the Quran, for example, when they hear what has been sent down to the messenger, you see their eyes overflow with tears because of the truth they recognize. In 5th chapter, verse number 83, that when they see, naturally the tears will flow in the eyes. And many a times it happens to us as well. When we go to the ziyarat, as soon as we see the gumbat of Imam Hussain, tears naturally flows. It just comes. Is there a fear there? No, there's no fear. Is there some sort of awe or something very big? We haven't seen a building big like this before. No, nothing like that. We have seen much bigger buildings than that. Yes, there will be muhabbat tears, yes, possibly. But at the same time, it's that honor, that opportunity that we have got. Allah have blessed us with seeing the dome of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. That seeing itself brings that tear. And beautifully, all of these things, these different realities, they become like different flowers in a bouquet, which is the majlis of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. That is Hussein. That is the secret of these majalises. That is the beauty of these azadari of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. It brings out the best. It takes us to levels that we cannot imagine. Apart from, yes, there is hadith, there's Quran recited, there's knowledge increase, but there's something to do with the heart. That it takes us there. It makes us reach to that. And this is what Labbaik Ya Hussein means. When we say Labbaik Ya Hussein, it means that I'm saying Labbaik to all of these beauties that exist within these majalises. The sacrifice, the justice, the isar, the generosity, the respect, the love, Amar bil Maruf, Nahi anil Munkar, to all that what Hussein has given us, we say Labbaik. We are ready. We are here, O Hussein. Your call is this, Hal min nasiri ansuruna. We are saying Labbaik to this call. What is your call? Your call is, against injustice. We say Labbaik. Your call is to sacrifice. Selflessness, not just sacrifice. Selfless, isar, which we call it is isar. There's one thing which is generosity, you're generous and you give. The other thing is no, it is selflessness. It's not generosity as such. A generous person has something and he gives. But an isar, a selfless person, is that he will not have, still he will give. And that Hussein teaches us. So this Labbaik Ya Hussein is that. We are saying Labbaik to all of these values that Imam Hussein stood for and died for. And we say Labbaik to that. And the Majalis teaches us that. It does that tarbiyat. It has that element of tarbiyat. And it's a motherly tarbiyat. It's a motherly training of the soul. And mothers are the best when they train. That's why they say that in the majlis of Imam Hussain, the mother of all mothers, Bibi Fatima, comes. Right? And this whole system and methodology of Azadari was established last night. Moulana was reciting beautiful, may Allah reward him in the Masaib. When Hind came to the prison, that's where, Bibi Zainab expressed after all of that discussion that, oh, Hind, we haven't done majlis for Hussein. This Zainab started that majlis for Hussein. So this place is the cradle of tarbiyat. It is from these majalises that people have become what they have become. People have reached where they have reached. All of our scholars and ulama. That's why Imam Khomeini says that whatsoever that we have is because of Muharram and Safar. It's because of these 2 months. Whatever we have is because of these 2. Right? Because these are the majalises, and it's very important that we commemorate, that we participate, that we attend with all etiquettes which comes with it, from tabarruk, from sitting, from behaving, from wearing black clothes, from the atmosphere. All is very important, that we consciously participate in that and not undermine anything. Sometimes it comes to our mind that, oh, okay, we have so much food, why are we wasting? We should donate, where it's required. No. This is something else. You cannot undermine this. Sometimes it becomes a bit like some sort of a Puritanist thought that, oh, let's not do majlis this year, let's just donate this majlis for some needy people. Well, you do majlis as well, you will have so much barakat that you can even donate the needy people. Why are you, cutting corners here? In a majlis of Hussein, you don't want Zahra to be in your house. You don't want Imam Zamana to be attending, as they say that whenever there is a zikr of Abul Fazl Abbas, Imam Zamana is present. All the heads were on the spears, but there was one head in the neck of the horse. Let's call Imam Zaman now. They say that, how come all of the heads on the spear? Whose head is this that is tied in the neck of the horse? Because when they arrested the women and children, they were taking them from different villages and towns in order to reach Sham. And whenever a town will come, they will bring out the heads of the shuhada from the boxes which they were storing. Because all of the journey, the heads were not in the spears. They will take the heads down, put it in the box. And when the town comes, when a city comes, they announce that we have prisoners of war. Come and look and do tamasha. Come and look at these people, and celebrate and clap and whistle. And if you have any sadaqah, give sadaqah to these prisoners. So they will take the heads of the shuhada and they will put on the spears. And whenever they put the one head on the spear, it falls down. So they have to tie this head in the neck of the horse. Then the people ask, whose head is this? And this is the head of no one but Abul Fazl Abbas. Because when this head is placed on the spear, it looks at Zainab without a chadar. It cannot bear itself to be on there and it falls down. There are so many reports in Maqatil in regards to the head and how these heads were miraculous. As we mentioned last night as well, there's a spear with a head which is not moving forward. Why? Because the head is seeing that there is no sakina in the crowd. The story of Karbala is beyond imagination. The riwayat that we have, the Maqatil that they have mentioned, they are beyond imagination. As we also hear in regards to the head, that one of the Christian priests asked for this head to be taken to his house. When he takes this head to the house, he sees that there's a ray of light descending from the heaven. He was shocked, and when he looked closer, who are in this ray of light, he sees that there is Ibrahim, there is Musa alayhi salam, and there is a very nurani, a very powerful body, illuminating body in front of all of them, and that is Rasulullah, and they are giving condolence to Rasulullah. The stories of the heads are very miraculous, what happened to them. And it also been mentioned that this head was not moving from a house that was there. The head was not moving, and then why the head is not moving? Then it realized that Hussein had promised that he will attend to one of the slaves, one of the lady who used to work in the house of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Because he has promised, oh Shireen, I will come to your house. When she comes down and she looks at the head of Hussein, Zainab says that, oh Shireen, take a closer look. The wa'ada, the promise which my brother did, he fulfilled it. Hussein is here and here Zainab. There's so many miracles in regards to the head, as they say that when that head of Hussein was in the tray near Yazid, and he was hitting the head of Hussein with a stick. the wife of Yazid went unconscious looking at this scene. It was not possible for her to bear. Allah la'natullah ala qawm az-zalimin sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayyi munqalibin yanqalibun ma'tami Hussein, ya Hussein, ya Hussein, ya Hussein, ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Brothers, please move forward for the matam. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Brothers, please form lines if possible. Move forward. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein.
شام کا بازار عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار عابد بیمار، پاؤں میں بیڑی تو کہ گراں بار، شام کا بازار عابد بیمار، عابد بیمار، بھولے گا نہ وہ منظر نیزے پہ سرور، بھولے گا نہ وہ منظر نیزے پہ سرور، بے مخنوں میں چادر بلوے میں پھپھی مادر، اور مجمع کفار عابد بیمار، شام عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار عابد بیمار، بازار کی زیبائی کوٹھوں پہ تماشائی، بازار کی زیبائی کوٹھوں پہ تماشائی، آتا کی سفرائی اور عالم تنہائی، وہ بے کس و لاچار عابد بیمار، عابد بیمار، عابد بیمار، دربار میں سر اوریاں آتے ہیں حرم گریاں، دربار میں سر اوریاں آتے ہیں حرم گریاں، اٹھنے لگا ایک طوفان، محشر کا سا ہے ساما، جنبش میں ہے دربار عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار عابد بیمار، عابد بیمار، بو پائی تو گھبرا کر بچی نے کہا رو کر، پائی تو گھبرا کر بچی نے کہا رو کر، اس دشت میں ہے جو करूं दीदार आबिद बीमार शाम का बाजार बिद बीमार दुख्तर की सदा सुनकर इस तश्ती तिला से सर सुनकर गोदी में गया उठकर नादान ने लिपटा कर सर पर रखी रुखसार आबिद बीमार शाम का बाजार आबिद बीमार शाम का बाजार आबिद बीमार जब बाबा का सर पाया दिल बच्ची का भर आया जब बाबा का सर पाया दिल बच्ची का भर आया हर जुल्म को दोहराया लोगों ने जो सुन पाया आँखों भार आबिद बीमार शाम का बाजार शाम का बाजार आबिद बीमार पाँव में बीड़ी तो के गिरां बार शाम का बाजार आबिद बीमार शाम का बाजार आबिद
I'm Zainab. All my life I've lived in pain. I'm Zainab. I died when I lost Hussein. I'm Zainab. All my life I've lived in pain. I'm Zainab. I died when I lost Hussein. I am the mother of sorrows. Wherever I go follows. I am the mother of sorrows. Wherever I go follows. I'm Zainab. All my life I've lived in pain. I'm Zainab. I died when I lost Hussein. I'm Zainab. All my life I've lived in pain. I'm Zainab. I died when I lost Hussein. My grief started when I lost mankind's true mercy. After that loss I lost Zahra and then Ali. The broken rib, the struck head of Ali haunts me. My grief deepened seeing Hassan dying slowly. How can I live now without you, my dear? How can I see your head shine on a spear? I am the mother of sorrows. Wherever I go follows. I am the mother of sorrows. Wherever I go, I'm Zainab. All my life I've lived in pain. I'm Zainab. I died when I lost Hussein. I'm Zainab. All my life pain. I'm Zainab. I died Hussein. My heart was shattered on the day Hussein was killed. The day of 10th when the whole world with blood was filled. Upon my mind sorrow and pain was instilled. Oh Lord, let our small sacrifice be now fulfilled. Oh Shia, when you're thirsty say his name. Oh Shia, curse the one who lit the flame. I am the mother of sorrows. Wherever I go follows. I am the mother of sorrows. Wherever I go follows. I'm Zainab. All my life I've lived in pain. I'm Zainab. I died when I lost Hussein. I'm Zainab. All All my life I've lived in pain. I'm Zainab. I died when I lost Hussein. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there, leave me there. Hussein, boy, Hussein, boy, Hussein, boy, Hussein, boy. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، صلى الله عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، صلى الله عليك يا حسن بن علي، صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني جميعا سلام الله بدل ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار لا جعله الله آخر لحظة مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أخيك بالفضل العباس وأختك زينب ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا علي زين العابدين، السلام عليك يا باقر علم النبيين، السلام عليك يا جعفر الصادق، السلام عليك يا مسلم الكاظم، السلام عليك يا علي الرضا، السلام عليك يا محمد تقي، السلام عليك يا علي النقي، السلام عليك يا حسن العسكري، السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters.